Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. Video number 2. This is a weekly video coming at you. The Jet Fuel podcast, as I mentioned in my first video, is in the works and coming soon. Hopefully when there's a lot more news coming out with the free agency, draft, etc. But I do have a nice video here for you today regarding this guy, Mike Effin White. Or is it just going to be Mike White this year? We'll see what the hype train says. But first off, appreciate anyone tuning in. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Much appreciated. And follow me on social media platforms such as Instagram at TurnUpTheJets, all one word. And also on Twitter at TurnUpTheJets, all one word. Appreciate it. Well, let's get right into the video. And we're talking about the future of not Derek Carr, not Aaron Rodgers, not even Zach Wilson, Mike White. And I feel like we've kind of forgot about him a little bit because we're just so focused on who in the world is going to be the New York Jets starting quarterback in the 2023 season. But this is a very interesting storyline. And Rich Zamini is the guy who asked Robert Saleh yesterday as he went in front of the media, first time since Nathaniel Hackett was hired. He was supposed to go in the combine and meet with Derek Carr, which they did yesterday in Indianapolis. Wasn't able to because he had a stomach bug, but did take questions from the media yesterday. And Rich Zamini said, what is going on with what is going on with Mike White, as he asked Robert Saleh. And Saleh wants him on the team. And he said he should be talked about more. We want him back. All good things to say. And he kind of has to say that. But for me, I don't think Mike White, I'm just going to get right to the point. I think Mike White is going to be a quarterback for the New York Jets next year. It doesn't make sense for either side, if we're being honest. And I want to just go look at his stats. Very, very small sample size. So I'm going to not really hold him totally accountable because it's very small sample size. He was definitely injured in that Seattle game. He injured himself in the Indianapolis game the year before that. So it's tough, but last year, well, he's 2-5 as a starting quarterback. Last year, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. The year before that, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He started 4 games in 22 and just 3 games in 4 games in 22. Yep. And just 3 games in 21. So 8 touchdowns, 12 picks career-wise. It's nothing to write home to. And also a QB rating of 75. Well, QB rating of 75.4. 2,100 yards, 62% completion rate. It's backup numbers, right? I don't believe Mike White is a starting quarterback in this league, nor did I ever. Heck yeah, I wouldn't get into the trend, yell Mike Effin White, whatever. You know, it was a fun few weeks. Kind of riding high after the Chicago game. I was personally at the Minnesota game, which they lost. And then I was torn because you should have won that game, but he made a lot of good throws. I will say he is a pro, and I think he will be a very successful backup quarterback, but he needs to get his durability going. It's not totally his fault. It's not his fault that the Jets offensive line totally just had a terrible showing against Buffalo, getting him virtually killed and doing that again in Seattle. But I just don't really, he doesn't scream starting quarterback, and he also doesn't even scream that you got to sign him back. 8 to 10 million, which would be my, I guess, estimate. I haven't read anything. I haven't read any estimations from other people, but 8 to 10 million sounds about right for Mike White, at least what he's going to be seeking. And heck no, the Jets should not give him 8 to 10 million. Heck no, unless the only scenario that I think bringing back Mike White, and by the way, I do think the Jets, either way, if they get Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers, they still got to add another QB along with Zach Wilson because I'm not feeling great about it. I don't want Zach Wilson to be the only other starter. And they asked Robert Saleh again yesterday, and I kind of got off topic here, but about the holding 3 quarterbacks. And he said last year we did it because we thought we had 3 great quarterbacks. I mean, I don't think he had one, but again, it's his job. But I do think the Jets will hold 3 quarterbacks no matter what this year as well. But the only scenario I really think about just saying, heck it, give Mike White 8 to 10 million is if Jimmy Garoppolo is signed because of the durability. And then obviously Mike White's durability isn't that great either, so don't hold your breath on that. But I would rather him come in first before Zach Wilson. I hopefully I could speak for most Jets fans. I know there's still some truthers out there for Zach Wilson, and of course I want everything, all the best rather for the kid, and I want to see him be successful, but I just don't see it right now. And especially if they go sign Derek Carr, he's done in New York. Don't listen to what Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas says. Oh, he's still the guy for the future. We still think he's going to be a great quarterback. Robert Saleh did say something interesting yesterday. We want to prepare him to be a starting quarterback, whether it's for New York or somewhere else. And I think that's the only option here. But that's the only option for Mike White in terms of bringing him back is if they sign a Jimmy Garoppolo. Derek Carr, no. It's not worth it. You're going to give Carr probably 30 to 35 million, maybe even a little more over a 4 or 5 year span. That just doesn't seem worth it. You could spend 8 to 10 million elsewhere. You can spend 8 to 10 million on Quincy Williams because I think that's what he's seeking. He had a very nice season last year. You can spend 8 to 10 million on adding an offensive lineman when you cut some cap casualties. So that 8 to 10 million will be a lot more valuable elsewhere. Because if you get Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, you're expecting them to play 17 games. You're trading for Rodgers to play 17, and you're signing Carr to play 17. And both players' durability has been pretty good, even though Rodgers was basically hurt all last season, but he played through it. And he still had the 7th most touchdowns in the league with 26. So I don't really think there's a spot for Mike White here on the Jets roster. I get why some people want to bring him back, but I just don't think it makes sense for the Jets. And now I want to go to, it doesn't make sense for Mike White either. It doesn't. Why would Mike White want to come back to the Jets if they sign Derek Carr or they trade for Aaron Rodgers? He has 0 chance for being the starting quarterback. 0. 0, 0, 0. Even if he's a backup quarterback elsewhere, but it's maybe shaky. Maybe that quarterback situation, who knows? I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe the Tennessee Titans. Maybe a team like that. If Tannehill struggles or Tannehill gets hurt, he could be the next guy up. Or maybe even Indianapolis, a bridge guy, because you're going to probably draft a quarterback if you're Indianapolis. And maybe you go with an Anthony Richardson and let him sit. Or any team who signs or drafts Anthony Richardson would be a good fit for Mike White. So I think there's way better options out there. And also, I don't think he's going to get 10 million. Those stats I named off earlier, that doesn't jump out. 10 million for sure. And maybe eight touchdowns, 12 picks. He's a backup for a reason, but the durability just scares me. It really does. 2 injuries in 2 years. It's a violent game. I get it. But each time he had an opportunity, he got hurt. It reminds me almost like Matt Leinart to an extent. Leinart was a much premier prospect. He was drafted in the first round. He was, his name was getting floated around in Heisman Trophy candidates. And Mike White is from Western Kentucky, right? He went to USF. Nothing compared to what Leinart was. But in the NFL, when Leinart, I feel like every time he had an opportunity, he got hurt, it got cut short, and his career just kind of disappeared. Mike White has been a nice story for the Jets. I just don't see why they would bring him back. And I just don't see why he wants to come back in terms of the Jets just committing that they are getting a veteran. They're moving on from Zach Wilson. Let's just move on from that entire quarterback room. I think Zach Wilson probably will be the only one rostered. I don't think there's a chance in hell Joe Flacco is back wearing green and white. Zach Wilson, it's kind of like a chore at this point. You have to. He has 2 more years in his deal. If you release him flat out, Joe Douglas is just going to be looked at and be like, man, what a bust. It is a bust, but Joe Douglas is kind of going to procrastinate for 2 more years until finally admitting to us that it was a bust pick and he failed at the number 2 overall spot. That's just really what I think for for what Mike White's future holds. And it's interesting because before Samini said that, I didn't really think anything about Mike White because myself, and I could probably speak for a lot of Jets fans, are just focusing on Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. And you know, in a pipe dream somewhere, Lamar Jackson as well. So Mike White's name hasn't really crossed my mind. And I thought it was interesting. Saleh really spoke that he wants him back. Again, though, he has to say that. He's not going to be like, hey, we don't want, Mike White back. Heck no, he's not going to say that. He can't say that. It's his job to really praise the players that are still technically on his team, even though he is a free agent. So that's really just my opinion there. Mike White, I don't think he should come back. I think his future is very wishy-washy. I hope for him and his sake that he lands in a good spot, that he could have the opportunity again, like he did with the Jets, and maybe come back, start, have some nice games, and stay healthy, more importantly. But $8 to $10 million again, that's my estimation of his contract or what he'd be seeking. $8 to $10 million, it's not worth it for Mike White, especially when you're probably gonna be paying either Aaron Rodgers that tons of money that he's owned, or Derek Carr, or any other free agent. You're gonna be paying somebody to start for you this year at quarterback. And you shouldn't have to worry paying Mike White as a backup. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But that's going to wrap it up. That's the quick video here. Mike White's future, overall opinion, no, don't bring him back. Doesn't make sense for the Jets. It doesn't make sense for Mike White. But let's hope that I have another video coming out announcing the New York Jets starting quarterback of the 2023 season. I will add Derek Carr expected to possibly make a decision early next week. Ian Rappaport said on the Pat McAfee show. Shout out to Pat McAfee, my favorite show on air right now, by far. Rap Sheet said that he expects early next week. I would say Tuesday to Thursday is probably a solid window for Carr to sign, because he wants to be signed prior to free agency so he can scout and help people help the team bring people in to play along with his new team. And Aaron Rodgers, who the heck knows? He went on some hippie podcast saying that his darkness retreat was crazy, was this crazy experience. It's like a 2-hour podcast. I probably won't watch a minute of it. Man, just make your decision. I think he will pretty soon as well. And he kind of said that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Same sake. He wants to figure it out before free agency so the Packers can plan with either Jordan Love or with himself. So that'll be interesting to see as we continue this crazy offseason, the quarterback controversy. But again, follow me here on Instagram at TurnUpTheJets, Twitter at TurnUpTheJets, and of course, subscribe and like the video here on my YouTube channel. Hope to see you again. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Go Jets.
Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.